Welcome to our 8th to 9th grade curriculum night presentation. So nice to see such a large crowd here tonight. A lot of students I see came this evening. For a show of hands, who were students? Let me see all the students who are here. Most of them are right here. So thanks for coming out. I did want to ask one other question. How many parents here tonight, is this your first child coming to the high school? Raise your hand. All right. And I'll usually ask this question, but when there's a lot of students here, I may not get an honest answer. But how many feel like your child is 100% ready to go to high school? So that's normal. I'm going to tell you that they will be ready. I can speak firsthand. My oldest son started high school this year, as a freshman this year, and I've been doing this a long time, so I should know a lot and have him very well prepared, and I really wasn't sure if he was ready for it either, but he's doing very well, and the transition is really something to see. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But our purpose for tonight is to talk about scheduling and curriculum at the high school in preparation for building schedules for next year. That's going to be our presentation tonight. Before I start though, I did want to introduce the administrators who are here tonight. So again, my name is Doug Walker. I'm the principal here at the high school. Just a little background, this is my 12th year here at Chatham High School. I have been an assistant principal, counseling director, and principal here at the high school during that time. Then I have Mr. Henderson, Connor Henderson, who is an assistant principal here. Mr. Henderson started here as a teacher, was a dean of students, and has been an assistant principal. And then Lori Gironda is our other assistant principal, and Lori has been here as a teacher as well, and assistant principal. So that's our administrative team. Tonight's presentation is curriculum, as I mentioned, so we're going to talk about our scheduling process. We're going to talk about the courses, the course levels, help you understand those, graduation requirements when it comes to scheduling. We'll talk a little bit about and then we'll talk about the electives and go into what the elective options are, because that's where you students will have choice, where you'll get to pick the courses that you want to take. That's this focus. So just so you know, in May, and we just actually settled on this date just this week, so I'll be sending information out about this. But on May 1st, we'll have another evening presentation like this, and that's going to be the orientation to the high school. And that's what we'll talk about. How does the schedule work? What are the bell schedules? What does lunch look like? Where can you eat lunch? How do you arrive to school? Like the protocols of the school, and kind of demystify what a day in the life of being in high school is like. So we will do that on May 1st. And on that day also, the 8th grade students will come here during the school day, and we'll meet with them, and we'll have that presentation with them, and then they'll get tours of the high school. Well School is in session, so they can walk around and actually see what the high school looks like when it's operating with students, and sort of help ease any anxiety about coming into the high school, you know, being around students that range from age of 15 to 18 years old. So we'll do that in May. So tonight's presentation is more on the scheduling. So we're going to talk a little bit about getting ready for course selection tonight. We're also going to talk about the levels and our electives. I'll go over a 4-year worksheet. And I just want to preface before we continue that everything that we're showing tonight is being recorded, and the slides will be shared as well. So on our high school webpage, on the news and announcements, we have scheduling information there. You also should have received an email from us with information about scheduling that went out. And this video of this presentation and the slides will be there, because some of the things tonight you're not going to remember it all, and it's a good point of reference when it comes down to picking courses and electives to reference back to it. So just rest assured that this will be available. So we'll first talk about course selection and teacher recommendations. So different from high school, from middle school and high school, is courses in the high school earn credits. And we have full year courses and semester courses, half-year courses. Full year courses primarily are 5 credits. You earn 5 credits for every full year course that you complete, and 2.5 credits for semester courses. The exception to that are our science classes, because our science classes have lab components in them. And so that lab is a little extra seat time. So those courses are 6 credits for full year and 3 credits per semester. We do have study halls, and we'll talk a little bit more about that soon if a student takes a study hall. That is a course that takes up one of the 8 periods that you can schedule for, but it does not earn credit. It's not a credit-bearing class. These are the New Jersey minimum high school graduation requirements. Every high school in the state of New Jersey, this is the minimum that a student can earn in order to graduate high school. And it's broken down by credits, and what you can see is, language arts, English is a 20 credit requirement, and since full year classes are 5 credits, you have to take 4 years of English in high school. Health and physical education is also a requirement. It's listed as 20 credits, but the code actually states that you must be enrolled in physical education and health every year that you're in high school. So if you happen to be a returning student after senior year or for an additional year, you would have to also be enrolled in health and physical education. When you look at math, science, social studies, New Jersey minimum requirements are 15 credits, so there's only a 3-year requirement for those subjects. Many students take 4, but the minimum is 3. And then there is a 10, Chatham High School has a 10 credit requirement for a world language, so 2-year minimum. And then, in order to graduate high school in New Jersey, you must earn 5 credits in visual and performing arts and courses that meet those categories, and Mr. Henderson's going to go over all those courses with you shortly. And then 5 credits in the category of 21st century life and careers. So at some point in high school, you have to take either 2 semester courses or 1 full year course in each of those categories. And all students in New Jersey must take a 2.5 credit financial literacy course, a personal finance course, and that's offered as a semester class. So at some point in 4 years, you must take that course. And then there leaves room to reach the 120 credit requirement for an additional 12.5 credits. So that would be the minimum. And in addition to graduate high school in New Jersey, you must achieve a passing score on the New Jersey proficiency assessment, the NJG, graduation proficiency assessment called the NJGPA. So that's the credit requirements, the minimum requirements in a nutshell. Here's how it sort of looks on a 4-year worksheet, with each column being grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. If you look at minimum requirements, you can see that in your grade 9 year, most of your 8 period slots are filled with courses that you must take. But as you get to senior year, with just the minimums, the only 2 required courses are English and physical education. So technically, all the other courses you take are choice. You can take an additional math course, you can take another year of a science lab, you can take maybe an elective, whether it's an AP elective or a tech elective. You have a lot more choice as you get to high school. The good news is, for 9th grade, is that every course you take counts, no matter what it is. It'll count towards some graduation requirement. And you can see in yellow that there are 2 empty boxes, so there are 6 core courses, but then there are 2 extra spots, because every student schedules for 8 classes. And those 2 classes that are open can be any combination of a study hall period, if you wanted to take a study hall period, or it can be electives. It could be all electives or a study and an elective. I will tell you that we do encourage study halls. I would say a low 80% of our student body does take a study hall in order to help balance workload, keep up with their courses. If you look at 8 courses in a schedule, if they're all 5 credit classes that you earn, you would have 40 credits in a year. Over 4 years, you would have 160 credits. The minimum requirement for graduation is 120. So most students at Chatham High School graduate with well above the minimum. And so if you did take a study hall and you only earned 35 credits or 36 with a science lab in there, you would still be well above the minimum graduation requirements. Just keep that in mind. We'll talk about that in a few slides coming up. Okay, so our course levels. We have a variety of course levels here at the high school. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between them. I also want to state that students can be enrolled in courses at different levels. You're not just locked into a certain level. And you can move between levels from year to year. And that's really partially by teacher recommendation. But our levels A, B, and C are our primary levels. I would say that people ask, what's college prep? They really are all college prep. We've had students at all those levels who attend colleges, universities. They are all preparing students to attend education after high school. But there is a different level of rigor and support with each of these levels, so I'll break that down a bit. So our C level level is our special education replacement level. Okay, so those are going to be courses that are only special education students, smaller class sizes. The curriculum is, the course is aligned to the curriculum of that content area, but there's a higher level of support and modification to support the needs of students in that class to make sure that they're successful and can attain the curriculum goals. Our B level classes and our A level classes, again, both college prep courses. The difference between the A level and the B level is meant for students who maybe need a little bit more support in that content area. We typically have 2 adults in the room in those classes. In grades 9 and 10, those adults are pretty much across the board going to be a general education teacher and a certified special education teacher in that content area. When we get to grades 11 and 12, you still see that pairing sometimes, but we also sometimes you might see an instructional para at the higher levels versus in the lower levels. And that level for B is you're going to find more support, more individualized help. There might be a little adjustment to pacing, some differences in rigor on assignments. Having said that, it's general education and special education students in there. It's a general education class. And we're preparing students for the same high school graduation assessments. The kids are still taking an ACT or SAT, and primarily all attending universities after high school. And our A level would be our sort of our standard level or standard college prep level. And then we have in 9th grade honors level classes. When you get into 10th, 11th, and 12th, in some content areas, there'll be an AP instead of an honors class. And so those are the main levels that you will be recommended for and can be enrolled in. So a little bit of information to explain how the content in each department or each subject area might look in high school in comparison to middle school. And this comes directly from our supervisors. So things for students that you'll recognize that will look familiar in the high school when you're in your English and math is in English you're gonna be writing in various forms. That's going to be happening. You're going to read from a multitude of genres, and you will be engaging in literary analysis. Things you're doing now in 8th grade in CMS. In social studies, you'll be analyzing and interpreting primary and secondary source evidence and supporting judgments and interpretations with evidence through discussions and writing. So a lot of primary sources, a lot of analysis, discussion of historical information. In math, you'll be solving problems in different ways as you do now. You'll be applying those concepts, you'll be working collaboratively on your math skills, and there's a lot of discussion-based mathematics instruction. You have that now in the middle school. You also, in science, we use an inquiry learning approach to science. You'll be using evidence and reasoning to investigate claims. And all of our science classes here at the high school are lab sciences. So every one of them, whether it's a full year course or an elective, has an additional lab component to it. What will look a little bit different with the rigor of the high school is the high school you'll see a higher expectation for reading and writing. The volume of the work will increase a bit from middle school, and a little more focused instruction on writing, specifically in English and social studies, and developing those writing skills. There'll be more sophisticated analysis of text. There'll be a little more collaborative activities. You'll engage in things like Socratic seminars, student-led discussions. You'll be engaging with the text at a little more rigorous level. There'll be increased expectations for explaining the processes of math, and a lot of real-world examples and integration of what you're learning in math and how it applies in the world. Science classes will be more engaged laboratory skills that you'll be developing, and you'll dive a little bit deeper into those experimentations and laboratory skills in order to make connections to what you're learning, testing hypotheses, investigating claims. In the high school, in some of your classes, you're going to have interactions with students across multiple grade levels. Some of our courses are mixed grade levels. Sometimes an elective class that you could take, there could be seniors in there with you. It could be all freshmen, it could be some sophomores, juniors, or seniors. And sometimes in your content areas, there could be students of different grade levels in those classes, depending upon the sequence they're following, where they were, if they weren't in our middle school, where they came from. We do have some mixed level courses in there, mixed grade level courses. So those are sort of the differences of the rigor of the high school. There's a transition, obviously, from 8 to 9, so the rigor builds with each year of high school. So we try to make sure that the transition into 9th grade is that there's rigor and growth, but it's appropriate, and that the students are successful. So how will you be recommended for classes? So that process will be starting soon, and it's primarily driven by teacher recommendations. So your students' current content teachers will be making recommendations for your child for next year. Starting, I think the middle school semester is ending very soon, and they'll be posting grades, and then during the last couple weeks of January into the beginning of February is when they'll start making these recommendations. And they make them inside Genesis, and then there'll be a week where you'll be able to view those recommendations in the portal. The recommendations by the teachers, we put a lot of effort into this to make sure that we do as good of a job as we can to make sure that we're placing students and recommending students for the course that is the appropriate challenge for them to ensure they have a positive experience. And how we do that is we have a lot of articulation. So our supervisors are K-12, so they work with the teachers in all the schools in their department area. And so they have various meetings with the teachers where they're talking to them about the expectations of the courses that they're recommending to. The teachers of each high school and middle school have time where they come together so that they can learn. So what exactly is the difference, between U.S. History 1A and U.S. History 1B? What's the profile of a student that you see that does really well in A versus B or honors? And they share that with each other. Some of our middle school teachers have come up here to observe classes to make sure they have a good understanding of what's the right fit. And how they evaluate students for those recommendations is a number of things. It's almost sort of like a rubric. One thing, it's not just overall grades, not where did you land, what is your grade? Well, if that's, an A minus, then, absolutely it should be an honors recommendation. They look a little deeper than that. So they'll look at things like, well, what is your assessment grades? And that's really measuring what a student can demonstrate that they know versus like what do they do, other things that they do that boost the grade versus what they're able to actually show that they know. So that's usually a good measure. They'll look at specific knowledge, specific skills that they've seen the student be able to demonstrate that they know is essential for that level that they want to recommend them to. Whether it's particular writing skills, analysis skills, problem-solving skills that, let's say for an honors recommendation, that they know these skills are really kind of need to be strong for a student to be successful there. They'll also look at their ability to be self-directed, how they manage feedback. Do they make adjustments on feedback? Do they grow? Are they applying feedback that's given to them? How do they manage the pacing and the rigor of the course? Because some courses, like say an honors level, moves quicker, right? So they want to evaluate how well a student does with that type of pacing. And then they also want to look at what level of support does a student need. Does the student require a lot of individualized attention, where they benefit more in a smaller class environment with more adults in the room, or could they handle, an honors level or even sometimes an A level that requires a lot more independent work? And not that our teachers aren't supportive, but you can understand some courses just move at a different rigor than others. So they look at all of these factors and they make a recommendation that they think is the best fit for your child. And that's what you will see when you go into the portal in a few weeks. So in the email that was sent out to you, and this is published on our website as well, is our entire course catalog. And It's called the Program of Studies. We release it every year, so you do want to make sure that you're looking at the one that says 24-25, because changes are made from year to year, whether it's new courses we've added or some changes to prerequisites or things like that. So always make sure you're looking at the newest Program of Studies. And our Program of Studies lists every single course that's available in the high school. When you look at the departments within there, you're going to see first, we usually give a flow chart of how the courses sequence out in that department. So you can see, for example, you can go from English 9A to English 10A to English 11A, and then you can pick one of those three options. That would be like A-level options. And then you can see our honors and AP level, our B level, and our C level. And I do want to just remind you and point out that you are not like locked into a particular sequence horizontally here. So if you come in high school at 9A, there's no reason why you couldn't be recommended to Honors English 10 the following year. There's nothing that precludes that besides how you perform in the class and the teacher's evaluation of that. So it's very common to have students that are in mixed levels at all grade levels. But you'll see a sequence, you'll see a listing of the electives, that's just a visual, and then you'll see a description of every course. And when you look at a description of a course, and I just put art up here as an example, you'll see the title of the course, the grade levels that that course is available to. So for grade 9, you want to look at the grade 9 courses, the courses that are available to grade 9 students. It's a half-year course, meaning it's 2.5 credits. And there are no prerequisites for this class, but if there are prerequisites that you would require for that class, they'll be listed in the Program of Studies. So, twofold, you're looking at what it is you want to take this year, and Mr. Henderson will go through all those electives. But you can also kind of look out long-term courses you think you might want to take and start to think about looking at what are the prerequisites for those, so you start to think about the progression of classes you do want to take. Okay, you're going to learn a lot about our electives, because the next step in this process is once you open up the portal and you see the recommendations from the teachers, your next step is going to be to select the electives that you want to take. So I'm going to have Mr. Henderson go through those areas so you can have an idea of the breadth and scope of these, and then I'll come back up and talk to you in a minute. Any questions on anything I went over so far? All right, we'll take questions at the end, so if you have questions, please do ask them.
All right, thank you, Dr. Walker. So students, I'm going to take you through some of your elective options, and as you can see in your schedule next year, you will have 2 of your 8 slots available for you to choose the courses that you're taking, right? The other 6 in your 9th grade year are filled with core content classes and a world language. For one of those slots, we encourage especially 9th grade students to take a full year study hall. As Dr. Walker said, over 80% of our students take a study hall, even all 4 years of high school. And when you get to high school, you'll be busy. You'll be playing a sport or in the performing arts or working a job after school. And it is helpful to have the study hall, to have that break in the day, to really get some of your academic work done, because most of our students do have an after-school commitment. But of course, that's your choice. So you have two slots available. If you choose to take a full year study hall, that still gives you an opportunity to take 2 half-year electives or 1 full year elective. And you'll have no problem meeting your graduation requirements by taking a study hall. Students who are interested in music, our music classes are, most of them, the performance classes are full year courses. So those students often have to make a choice whether that would be the only elective that they take, if they also opt for a study hall, or sometimes those students will take a full year music class and then 2 semester electives. And you'll see there are plenty of opportunities to take elective classes in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So I'm going to take you through each track. The Fine and Performing Arts department has a 5-credit graduation requirement, so that's 1 full year course or 2 semester courses. And the first track here is Visual Arts. So the prerequisite for all 2D and 3D courses is experiencing fine art. So all students will take that, aside from students who are currently enrolled in Studio Art 8. If you are in Studio Art 8 this year, you can bypass the Experiencing Fine Art requirement and go right into one of the 2D or 3D courses. So right into drawing, ceramic sculpture, or metal and fiber arts. At the bottom, for students who are interested in more computer-based art, we do have standalone half-year electives of graphic design and graphic design 1. And one thing that you'll see as I go through each sequence is that there's an opportunity for growth, right? And you can take these courses throughout 3 or 4 years to get to the capstone course. So in 2D art, the capstone is AP Drawing, and in 3D art, the capstone is AP 3D Art. And you'll see that with each department, there are capstone courses. And some students use high school as an opportunity to get a small sampling of a variety of topics. You take an art course and a business course and video and engineering, computer science, and then you leave high school with a lot of different experiences, and that may help you determine what you'd like to do with the rest of your life. Other students early on in high school, freshman and sophomore year, they know what they're passionate about, or they discover it in a semester elective course, and they may choose to pursue that track for 4 years. And really that's up to the student, but the way that we've designed the course sequences, it really gives you that choice to either get a variety of topics or dive deep into 1 or 2 content areas. We also have our theater course sequence. We have 3 performance-based courses, Theater Arts 1, 2, and 3. And then for students who are interested in the production side of theater, we have a fairly new semester elective, Stagecraft. Our music courses, the courses along the left side, are courses that anyone can join. They are performance courses, so they'll perform in our concerts, and these are full year electives. The courses on the right, voices, chamber choir, chamber orchestra, and wind ensemble, they're also full year courses, but you must audition to get into those classes. For students who may not be interested in a full year music elective, we also offer music theory and piano lab. Okay, next is our 21st Century Life and Careers track, which again requires 5 credits throughout high school, 2 semester courses, or 1 full year course. First up, we have the Family and Consumer Science track with Culinary Arts 1 and 2 that are both semester courses. Early Childhood Development is a standalone, and Fashion Design, Construction, and Textiles is also a standalone elective. Our business courses, I'm going to highlight here financial literacy, because that is a standalone elective in the business sequence. Financial literacy is a New Jersey graduation requirement, so all students must meet this requirement. That can be met through this half-year elective, financial literacy. It can also be met through a full-year AP economics class. So there are 2 ways to meet that requirement. Years ago, we had many students, many 9th graders who were opting to take financial literacy just to meet that requirement, get that course and requirement met early on in high school. But we've encouraged students to consider waiting to take that course because it does focus on personal finance, and it may benefit students to take that course later in high school when they're closer to financial independence. But again, that's up to the student and the family. Getting back to our business sequence, Business 101 is the prerequisite for all other business classes. And from there, students can take either a marketing course or investments and portfolio management. Taking either of those courses would allow you to take the Capstone Honors Entrepreneurship course. Our video and multimedia track, we have a standalone course, digital media, and then the prerequisite begins with video production, tracking to TV production, and then short films would be the capstone course in that sequence. Our engineering and architecture track all students must take Intro to Design and Innovation as the prerequisite for the engineering course, and then they can opt for 3D engineering design, art, or architecture. Taking either of those classes would make you eligible for Honors Design Studio. So if you are a student who's coming into high school, knowing what you're really interested in or passionate about, and you know that you want to have the opportunity to meet that capstone class, I would encourage you to look at the prerequisites. For some of our capstone courses, it does take 3 years to get there, so you would want to make sure that you're taking the prerequisite course in that track, at least during your freshman or sophomore year, so that you can get to that capstone by your senior year. It does involve a little bit of planning if you are interested in the capstone courses. In our computer science and robotics courses, we have a standalone cybersecurity semester elective. That is a very interesting course. If you are a little worried about coding, it's a course more about cybersecurity and how it operates, and less coding intensive, less than some of our other courses. The rest of the sequence, the prerequisites are robotics and controls or game design with Python. Taking either of those courses would make you eligible for advanced robotics. Students who take advanced robotics actually compete on our robotics team and can take that course multiple times throughout high school. And we do have a very strong robotics program, and students who do opt to take that year after year. And then we have our computer science courses. So programming with Java is a coding and programming course. And then we have AP Computer Science Principles and AP Computer Science A. Okay, so that wraps up all of the elective options. Students, I would encourage you to look through the program of studies. You can also go back and re-watch this presentation. But in about a month or two, you will be selecting your electives for high school. So I would take the time, look through the program of studies, see what you're interested in, because you do get some choice in your courses in your freshman year. I also want to mention that students are allowed to take virtual courses. We contract with an online education provider, Eduseer, and all of our virtual course options are available on our website, on our counseling department page under the scheduling information section. That will take you to Eduseer, that will talk about the policy and all of the requirements for virtual courses. If you are interested in taking a virtual course, there are two important things to know. One is that if you're taking a virtual course during the school year, it does count as one of your 8 classes. So you cannot be enrolled in 8 classes at Chatham High School and then take a 9th course virtually. We would not honor that course, even if you completed it. So students who are taking a virtual course during the school year in high school, you have to take a study hall to leave one of those 8 slots open, and then you can take the virtual course. For current 8th graders, that would mean that if you are interested in taking a virtual course, possibly over the summer, that would count towards high school, you cannot be enrolled in that class as an 8th grader. We don't, as a high school, recognize any courses that are completed during middle school. So if you're interested in a summer virtual course, you'd have to wait until the end of the school year, enroll in the summer course, and then complete that course by August 15th. And if you do complete that class, you'd send us the information, and we'd add that to your high school transcript. Most students who take a virtual course opt to take an elective, maybe a standalone elective, something like financial literacy. We encourage parents and students to be really thoughtful about taking online classes that are a part of a sequence and a course requirement. So for example, if you are currently in Spanish 1, you want to take Spanish 2 virtually, possibly over the summer, to advance in the sequence. 1, you would need prior approval from the content supervisor before doing that. And 2, the rigor of that course and the experience of that course is not going to match the in-person experience of taking a course here. So if you're taking something that's a part of a sequence, you want to recognize that when you do get to that more advanced class, it may be really challenging and that the experience is not equivalent. So just something to consider if you're interested in a virtual course. We do allow waivers. So if you would like to, parents, if you wanted to bypass the teacher recommendation, and let's say your child was recommended for an A-level course and you wanted to bypass that recommendation and waive them into honors, we do have a process for that. All of the waiver information is on our school website, once again in the counseling department page under the scheduling information section. All of that will outline the waiver process. We have a waiver form for each individual content area. So if you did want to waive your child to a higher level in the English department, you'd find the link for the English department waiver form on our website, and then submit that Google form and submit the waiver. There are a few things to consider and know about the waiver process. One is that we have waiver windows, so you cannot submit the waiver at any time. The first window is from February 2nd to March 8th, and all waivers submitted during that first window are done before our schedule is built, meaning we can honor almost all requests that come through in that first window because we haven't yet built our master schedule. The only exception would be, and this is really for upperclassmen, possibly an AP elective where there's only one section and there are limited seats. We can't always guarantee seats in those one-off courses. But if you are waiving your child from English 9A to Honors 9 during waiver 1, there will be a seat available because we haven't built our schedule yet. If you wait because maybe you want to see how they progress in their 8th grade course, or you're really weighing the decision, or things change, and you decide to waive them during the second waiver window, that would be a week long. That's from May 10th to May 17th. So those Google forms open up again. Waivers submitted during that period are after the master schedule is built. So we've already determined how many sections of each course and each level we'll be offering next year, and those waivers are only accepted if there are seats available in the course. If all of the seats are taken and every course in that level is capped, then we wouldn't be able to accommodate those requests. The other thing is, it's a big decision. Please be thoughtful about, waiving to a higher level. Talk to your child about, what they can expect in that honors or A-level course if they're waiving from B to A, and what those challenges might look like, what the rest of their schedule looks like, what their after-school commitments might look like. If you do, students who submit a waiver and then enroll in that course, if they decide to mid-year move down a level, they have to do that at the quarter mark. So we don't have marking periods at the high school, we have semesters, but our first quarter ends in mid-November. So if you do waive into a higher level course, you are required to stay in that course up until the end of the first quarter, which is roughly mid-November. The grade that you have in that class, if you choose to move to another level, will stay with you, will carry with you to your next course. We don't weight, our GPAs are weighted based on the course level, but we don't weight an average when transferring that from, honors to A to B level or C level. That's all the same. So again, there's a little bit of risk involved with submitting a waiver because you are committing to staying in that course at least for the first few months of school and knowing that the grade would follow with you. It's something to consider, and I will just say that the teachers who are making these recommendations, as Dr. Walker said, are very familiar with our courses. So they're making the recommendation that they truly feel is best for your child. But again, it's the choice of the student and the family, and we do accept waivers. Okay, I'm going to pass it back off to Dr. Walker to wrap up. But students, again, the one thing that you can do to prepare for your 9th grade schedule is to look through that program of studies and start to think about the electives that you'd like to take. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a lot. There's a lot there, a lot of elective options. So like I mentioned, you're going to be able to look at this presentation after you leave here, and the program of studies really lays it all out for you. You know, we design our electives purposefully. Majority of our electives that you saw here, these are the electives that are in the fine and performing arts and 21st century category. Majority of them are semester courses, and that is by design, because our feeling is high school is a chance for you to try something you think you might be interested in, to explore something. If you think maybe I'm interested in computer science, you can take one computer science course for a semester and see if it's a good fit for you. And it's not too big of a risk or too big of a commitment for that one semester. And maybe you find, I really love this. And when you do, great, because there's a sequence of courses that you can follow that with. Or you may decide, I don't ever want to take another computer science class again, it's not for me, and you only had to go through it for a semester, and you learned something by going through that. And so they really are designed with that idea, and it really is a time to take some chances and start to explore paths that you think you may want to continue after high school. When you're building your schedule, you know, you're going to have your recommendations from your teachers. You do have an option for waiving, which exists as well. But I just encourage you to be thoughtful. There's a lot more to high school than just schoolwork, and we encourage students to really get engaged in other aspects of high school to really get the most out of the experience. So whether that is course load, that is athletics, our performing arts programs, we have over 75 clubs that operate that are easy to be a part of because most of them meet during our common lunch period. There's opportunities to get involved in many things, and you want to make sure you have time for that. As you come into high school, it's a transition. It's a transition coming from the big fish of the middle school to the high school. Like I said, it's a bigger environment, the rigor's a little different, and you want to be able to start strong. So think about that as you build your high school schedule, and think about coming in and trying to have a nice balance so that you can really get your feet dug in here in terms of your academics, as well as extracurriculars, outside of school commitments, things like that, and get your grounding and then build your rigor up over time. It's a really, really great way to approach it. So I'd just be thoughtful about that. What I do want to stress is that when you leave Chatham High School, you will be very prepared. Every year we have an alumni return day here. We just had it right before the winter break, and we invite graduates from the prior year who are now finishing their first semester of college to come to the stage. They talk to the seniors, we do a panel, and we ask them questions about their first year in college, lessons learned, what advice they want to give to the seniors who are here. And I talk to the students every year for 12 years here. I've been doing it, and you know, one of the common things that every student says to us every year we hear this is they are so prepared, and they feel more prepared than their peers in the school that they're at, or the place that they're at, and they're in competitive places. So we get this feedback a lot, and it's because we build those skills. Our curriculum, our courses are very much skills-based. They're content-based, it's content, but we're building skills. We're building skills that are transferable when they get to the next place that they're going. And our outcomes are strong. So, you know, in each of the last number of years, the percentage of students attending four-year universities is always in the high 90 percentile in terms of having options and places to go. I do want to point out every year our GPA distributions look similar to this, contrary to maybe some belief. Not every student has to have above a 4.0 to be successful. Vast majority of a higher percentage of our students graduate with a GPA between 3 and 3.99, but they distribute this way. So it's not necessary that you have to come in and take all certain rigorous courses, honors courses, and get a really, really high GPA and still have successful outcomes. So just keep that in mind. A sample of schools in the 3 to 4.0 range that kids have matriculated to. It's a really nice list. And so my point of showing this is we're far off from thinking about colleges and universities for our 9th grade students. But when you start to build your 9th grade schedule, just keeping in mind an appropriate balance and starting off strong and starting off with a balanced schedule and then increasing that over time can still pay off dividends for you down the road. Each year in this presentation, I pull a couple sample transcripts, take personal information off just to show some sequences and understand how certain decisions people make and where they end up. And I know you'll have to take my word on this, but I don't just cherry pick certain ones that I know are gonna send the message that I wanna send. I could pull a lot of transcripts to show these examples, and I'm being honest when I say that. But like an example of a student here who came into high school in 9th grade, and you can see the 3 courses that are highlighted in the first box are called concepts. Our B-level classes used to be called concepts. So there's a student who took some B-level classes when they came in. As they increased to 10th grade, they moved up to some A levels, keeping some B. 11th grade, they moved up to a couple honors and A level, and by 12th grade, added a couple AP courses. So they kind of came in with what was recommended and kind of built their rigor as they found success. And a student like this, when they graduate high school, had some nice college acceptances in order to be able to move forward with. One more example of a student who came in with primarily all A-level classes, 1 honors class in 9th grade, continued with A-level into 10th grade, actually dropped from that honors level in 10th grade, in 9th grade, and then in 11th and 12th increased the rigor a bit with a couple honors and then a couple AP classes in senior year. And again, just another example of many that I could show where they had some nice options when they left here. So just some samples to show that with 95% of our students having success in 4-year schools and so moving on from here, that there's a pathway for everybody, and starting off 9th grade appropriately is definitely something to consider and still leaves you with a lot of options. So they will be prepared. Every student's unique, so as a community, and I've been a victim of this myself and with my own children, you have a tendency to listen to our peers and our friends and what other people are taking and what's right for them, but every kid's unique and you know your child. So when you make decisions, feel confident in them that the courses they're being recommended for and the pathway that they're going to take is unique for them and appropriate for them. And we have an incredible amount of support here and really talented professional teachers that get kids where they need to be. And I say that with the most sincerity I can. There's a reason I've been here for 12 years and I'm still here. It's because it's an incredible faculty, most professional staff I've ever been around, and I've been in a few different school districts. And I just see how they work with students and how they get kids, they treat kids as individuals and help them grow. So they're in very good hands. So a few things to know. I mentioned some of the timelines, so just to revisit that. Grades are going to be posted soon for the middle school. At that point, once grades are posted, the teachers will start making recommendations. They may have conversations with the students about that. They'll put those recommendations into the portal. And then the week of February 5th to the 11th, the portal will be opening and you'll get a chance to see those recommendations, and that's the point in time where you're going to be able to pick electives that you're interested in. You're going to be asked, if you remember, there are 2 open periods, so that could be 4 semester electives, 2 full year, or it could be a study hall as a full year and 2 semesters, and the instructions will lay that out. But we're going to ask you to pick 5, and we're going to ask you to prioritize them from 1 to 5. This is the one I really want, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. The reason for that is sometimes courses we can't fit every student who wants them in freshman year. You will absolutely have a chance to take the course you want at some point. And so we try to work off a priority list. So we will try to schedule you for the ones that you prioritize, and if for some reason one of them doesn't work, whether because the course is full or when the schedule's made, sometimes another course that you need conflicts with it, we will go to your 2nd, 3rd, or 4th priority. If there's a hard conflict or a difficult decision, which rarely happens with grade 9, then counselor will reach out. They'll discuss with you what the next step would be. Mr. Henderson is going down to CMS on February 5th and 6th to meet with all the 8th grade students again, because obviously many of the students couldn't be here tonight, and just to go over some of this, a little bit of a modified presentation, just to talk to them and answer questions they might have about electives and things like that. So there's a little more question and answer that goes on there. The portal will open, you'll pick your electives, and then February 15th and 16th, the high school counselors go down to the middle school, and during phys ed classes, we actually set up in the gym, we set up tables, Chromebooks, and we have some documents, and the students come up one by one to a counselor, and we go over the requests that are in the parent portal, the recommendations, and the electives that the students picked in the portal, and together the student and the counselor turn those into course requests. So there's a chance there, a student might have put something in the portal in February and could ask to change an elective option, that's fine. Also know that when a teacher makes a recommendation, if you want to go to a higher level, you have to waive. But if you want to go to a lower level, you can make that decision. So an example of that would be if you're recommended for Honors US 1, and you make a decision as a family that, you know what, I'm taking Honors English, and I'm taking Honors Biology, and I'm taking Honors Algebra 1, I think I want to have balance, and I want to take US History 1A. It's not my favorite subject, and I'm not just picking on history, not that history shouldn't be your favorite subject. You can, at that table, you could say, my parents and I talked about it, and I'm going to take level A. So you can choose to take the level A if you have an honors. The one that you can't just choose is level B. That has to be by teacher recommendation. So if you're recommended for A, you can't choose to go to B. That has to be in agreement with the teacher. We try to manage the students recommended to B so that we can make sure it's managing class sizes and having the students in there who really need that type of environment. But you can absolutely request an A if you were recommended for an honors level. And if you're recommended for an A, you want to go to honors, that would be a waiver. So we'll be going over those, and then what happens after that, we're simultaneously scheduling the entire high school during this time and having scheduling meetings for that. And then around April 1st is when I start building the master schedule. And that takes about 5 weeks or so, 4 or 5 weeks. It's over 10,000 seats, and it's a complex. There's over 300 courses, so it takes some time. And we'll then get a master schedule, and we get it to as strong of a schedule as we can in terms of meeting student requests. And then we'll always inevitably have some students who have some gaps or something didn't fit or they have to make a decision. And it's not, like, again, not so much with 9th grade, but it happens here and there. And if there is a decision that has to be made, counselors will reach out and they'll talk through with you on how to go about completing that schedule. And so we do that during the beginning of May. We do some class balancing because the scheduler doesn't always balance classes perfectly. We want to make sure, we try to balance the number of kids in each section so the classes are manageable and equal. And then we produce our high school schedules around the first week of June. So by the first week of June, you'll have your schedule for high school. You'll know what it's going to be, what courses you have. If along the way you have questions once the schedule's out, or you change your mind in May that I want to take a different elective than what I had picked, it's okay. We can't make any of those requests while we're building the schedule, which is during April, but once it's built, we can. And so you'll know by then who your high school counselor is going to be, and you can reach out to them and they can make those changes. We allow schedule changes throughout the summer as well, so if you have a change that you want to make, we always have counselors in over the summer. And then school will start in late August. So that's our basic timeline on this. So as I mentioned, the presentation that's being recorded by our students, once it's edited, I'll have it up on the webpage. The webpage has all these dates, and it's located on 2 places on the high school site. The place it always lives is under the counseling tab under course selection and scheduling. But on the front page of the high school website, I do have an announcement that has scheduling information. It's right there. So once I have the video up and that, I will send a messenger out to all the 8th grade families letting you know that it's there. And you can reference that. And if you have any questions, couple people you can speak to. So the people the individuals at CMS, the counselors can help. Mr. Devine, your assistant principal, has been a teacher here at the high school, was a director here at the high school, really understands the high school schedule, so another great resource in the building for the 8th graders. I'm sure Mr. Devine would be happy if you stopped by and had a question about a high school course. He was a science teacher here, a science and math supervisor here, and was a director of secondary ed. So he can answer a lot if you're looking for a person to have a conversation with in your building. And then of course you can reach out to any of us if you have any questions as well. And for the students, when we come down in a couple weeks, have your questions ready. All right, so that concludes our presentation tonight. Happy to take any questions that anybody has. If they're general questions that benefit everyone, feel free to ask them. If they're personal, you can come up and ask us. Are there any questions? Yes?
Is there an option for a one semester study hall?
There is, yes. You can select one. You can tell that you can put. You can. So when you're in the portal and you're selecting your electives, you're going to see the recommendations that you have, and that's going to add to a credit count, right? So you're going to have 6 classes, and that will be 31 credits because you're going to have 5 of them are 5 credits, and one of them 6. Right? And you can have up to 40. Right, so if you want to have a semester study hall, you're going to select 38.5 credits, and then 2.5 would be the maximum. And so you can decide that with your child, and then when they meet with the high school counselor, when they have their elective choices, they can say, I want to take a semester of study hall, and then they'll only schedule for 3 semester electives instead of 4. The only thing you can't select is what semester that study hall falls in. That I can't guarantee. That's going to be kind of luck of the draw. Yes?
So if you were to go with a teacher recommendation, we recommended for a level B. Are you in level B for the whole year? Or if it was determined, if you were say getting 100% of level B, do you have an opportunity to
move up
mid-year, or do you have to wait till the next year?
Okay, so 2 things. So if you wave into a class, so we grade on semesters here at the high school. A number of years ago, we changed that. Instead of 4 marking periods, we grade semester 1 grade and semester 2 grade. If we still operate with quarters for certain things, like our health is a marking period, a quarter of the phys ed. So waivers, if you waive into a class, you have to stay in that class for the first half of semester 1 or the first quarter. And that typically falls around the very beginning of November, give or take, depending on when the school year starts. And so you are required to be there. That is also the deadline, so let's say arbitrarily November 1st. That's when waiver students can drop back down if they realize it's not the right fit for them. That's also the deadline for any student in the high school that's not a waiver to make a decision to drop a level. So, if you're recommended for AP World History and you decide this is too much for me, I want to go back to, I want to go to World A. That's the deadline to do that. So that's one answer to your question. If you are recommended by a teacher to a particular level and you get into that level and it's made very clear pretty early on that it's not the right level the other way, where you're actually overperforming, you're doing incredibly well, it seems like this was a mismatch, we can move a student up. It has to be teacher recommended. Like, teacher has to really initiate that. And it usually would happen earlier, not as late as the first marking period, because there's negatives to moving up later, because those courses sometimes are moving a little quicker and it could be a real challenge. So yes, it doesn't happen often. I gotta say, our teachers do a pretty good job of making recommendations, so I can't say that happens frequently. But if a teacher came to me and end of September clearly said a student is absolutely not placed correctly and should go move, we look at it. So I hope that answers that. Yes?
All right. First of all, thank you so much for helping us go through this, right? So my question is, see, I have an only son, right? And we just moved from a different country here a couple of years back. He would be going, so when you were presenting the data for university acceptance, you primarily focused on GPAs, right? Which is a very, very important criteria, the way I understand, but I'm sure there would be several other criteria for getting admitted into universities.
Sure.
Right? So at what stage will we get that information? And if we have questions around it right now so that we can make right choices and be adequately prepared based on the lessons learned or look back that you've had, how do we get that information?
Yeah, so you'll have plenty of opportunities for that. So, my advice right now is you're building the ninth grade schedule. You're going to have teacher recommendations. You're going to build, 6 courses, core courses, based on the recommendations of the teachers, and then the electives at the ninth grade level don't really come into play so much in terms of a college admittance type thing, because you're really taking the first level introductory course into some pathway that you want to take. As you get to the high school, you'll be assigned a counselor. It'll be your counselor for all 4 years. And we have a sequence where we work with students each year to plan their 4-year schedule. There'll be a freshman conference. You'll meet with the counselor. You'll go through a 4-year worksheet and start to kind of map out where you think you want to go. And then as you get closer to junior and senior year, we have counselor, family, student conferences where we start planning for post-secondary. Along the way, we have a college and career counselor here who works with students on that process as well. So there's a lot of supports placed in timely manners, and the counselor is the point of contact for all of that. Any other questions? All right, well, I won't hold you anymore. Thank you so much for coming.